wanted to talk today about, so we because of all the end of the year stuff, it's becoming increasingly challenging to find a room for us to fly in. So not a huge deal, but it's okay. So today we're going to have a shorter class session. We're going to talk about some of the stuff. I want to talk about everybody's checklists and how you guys have revised stuff. Hopefully everybody's uploaded your checklist into Google Docs. We can talk about those, but I want to start off talking about our survey. So we killed this after spring break, and we touched on it a little before. Not a lot has changed since we messed with our where are we? So not a lot has changed since we last looked at it, but you guys all have this document. So don't share this with anyone. We need to go through it and do some analysis, and so that's what I wanted to talk about today. But I want to just go through it and make sure everybody understands it. So this is the raw report that comes out from our online survey instrument form, and there we go. So this is our first question, for example. Now this is just, I believe this is just, yeah. So this is just the responses. So you guys might want to take some notes here about stuff. So recall that some of our questions, everybody gets asked. Other questions would only be asked if you responded a certain way in a previous question. So you might want to just have a note or two about that here. This first question obviously went to everyone. And so this was, if you recall, this is the question of description. So what do you call this thing? And this is the number of folks that decided this particular option was a drone, number of folks that decided that this is best described as a UAV, and people that had other terms. So there's that guy. And as we're going through this, we're gonna divvy up the analysis. So we're gonna fractionate the analysis, and different folks or different teams are gonna take on different elements. So as we're going through this, you might just have a thought as to what's most interesting to you, and that's what you can volunteer to do. Since there's a few folks that aren't here today, you guys will get to pick, and then they'll get the leftovers. But so the first one was, what do we call this? Next was, I have purchased or received a UAV as a gift, and different time periods over this last holiday season. Blah 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 blah. If they said they didn't know or not, then that was it. But if they had purchased one, then they were asked this optional question, which was this for you or for someone else to use? And also the descriptor, the next question came up, which was it a fixed wing, a single rotor, multi-rotor, etc. And it looks like this one I didn't delete properly. And then this one is how much did it cost, right? So again, the same pattern we've been seeing, which is the largest category is, this was, I guess, less than, I don't know why that didn't show up. This is less than $250. So this is the cheapest category, our little micro units. And then the next most common category is the stuff that's more expensive. And then everything else is in between. Again, if they said they had purchased it, they got this question. Where'd you get it from? And did this UAV have a camera package attached? Did it not have a camera package attached, but you would like one? Or did it not have one and you didn't care about that? And then I think this is so this is the last one. So what was the primary use of that UAV? So if they did say they had purchased one for themselves or someone else, they had these several questions. Regardless of what you answer to those, everybody next had this. Okay, and so just to show you guys, in this case, some of the questions, so they say blah, 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 blah. This is how many people answered there, and this is the percent. Now realize some of our questions, they had no choice. They had to answer. For example, the very first question, they had to answer. Others, we didn't force them to answer. So if they didn't want to, they could opt out. That's first thing to note. Second thing to note is in some cases we had not just an I don't know, but an other. So in that case, if they click that, there was a box for them to type in, and what you see down below the question is what people said. But, you know, so why did I buy it? I bought it for play. Why'd you buy that? I bought it for fun. Why'd you buy that? I bought it for silly household fun, right? And all that kind of jazz. Okay, regardless of what people said before, everyone was asked this: have you personally ever operated a UAV? You know, 60% never have. And then this is a question, again, that doesn't so much pertain to what we're doing, but this is a question, and actually these two questions are questions from our coastal survey that we do every fall, and we've been doing for the last decade. And so it's more to get a bead for if this population seems representative of the kind of populations we're typically used to surveying in person. All those surveys are in person in Los Angeles, Ventura, and Santa Barbara counties. So this is really just more of a sort of for me to understand how well this this plays with our other background data. And we also had a thought that maybe if people think that we're doing you know, if people have an apparent strong interest in improving resources or thinking that resources need help, maybe they'd be more supportive of using UAVs in those contexts. Maybe. You can choose to look at that if you want, but you don't have to. Okay, then again, everybody was asked this question: would you favor allowing private operators to use UAV? And there's people's answers. And they go from, so 3 here is the neutral. Oh, the other thing to note is the file I've created for you guys to do your analyses, it typically does not have all of this context, okay? It typically doesn't have all the qualitative things. So what it'll have is it'll have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So you guys need to look back to this draft output to see what 1 corresponds to or what 3 corresponds to, etc. Okay, but for these, 3 is neutral, and then more positive that way, more negative that way. Same thing with license operators. And then we started asking about specific things. So what about you know, law enforcement? Then we get into these types of questions, which were essentially the same thing, but done in a single question format form. So note this: when you're looking at the data, when we get into the analysis, this will say question 13, and then it'll have some text. And this will say question 14 and have some text. This one's going to say question 15 underscore 1, question 15 underscore 2, question 15 underscore 3. So just so that's clear. Are you concerned that UAVs may pose a threat to personal privacy? Are you concerned that all these guys? Should these guys have licenses? Would you favor allowing universities to do this? So I think I mentioned it. I think I got distracted before and I was saying this. Not surprising with me. So you know, we had 337 or whatever it is people take the poll. But if you have a look at this question says only 327 people responded to this question. Okay? So either that means we didn't force them to take this, which I believe is what happened, or maybe a couple people got partway through the survey and stopped or whatever. But what it means is it means that we don't necessarily use 337 or whatever the total is to figure out the percentage for each question. Each question may have a separate total number of overall responses. And so that's the number you should use when you're doing the statistics for that particular question. And so this percentage uses this total, not the overall survey total, just so we're clear. FAA restrictions, have you ever observed a UAV flying near you, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then 23, you guys should all spend some time going through this. So this is going to be the text. So this is one of the open-ended things. So people could write a word or two, or they could write a large number of things, etc. And so this question was: did we miss anything about UAVs? Give me your feedback. So it might be something directly applicable to your analysis. It might be a rant. It might be you guys suck. You didn't do this poll right. All those kind of things will potentially show up in 23 here. And then, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. Yeah, more stuff. Okay, and then, okay, so then we asked the question, another one of these conditional ones, because we weren't too worried about, if we were doing this for a big, hardcore research journal or something like that, we really want to focus on making sure we have a representative population. We tried here, right? We made a decent effort. We posted on different forums and things like that. But, we just wanted to get a flavor of things. We didn't necessarily want to say this is exactly what the American public thinks at this exact second, right? And so one strong piece of evidence of that is 1/3 of our respondents came from CSUCI, right? That's not exactly a representative sample of our overall population. Surprising, says Devin. So that's good and bad. You can use this to start. This is what you guys are going to decide how you want to do this now. We'll have a discussion in a second. But the idea is, you can slice and dice this however you guys like, right? We want to talk about it as a group, so we divvy it up, and we're all doing sort of a consistent story here. But you could, for example, select just the folks from CSUCI, and see how often they've flown a drone, or see how much they've paid for a drone. And then you can select people that aren't affiliated with any CSU, right? You can do it. You can do all those ways. All that's fair game. So, so this first question was, are you associated with this? And then, there's one that skipped somewhere here. I don't know why it's not here. Maybe I accidentally double deleted it or something when I was making this easy for you to go. But so there's one question: are you associated with these things? There's another question that's, if you did pick CSUCI, there's a question that says, are you a student administrator or whatever? So again, that was only selected if you were a CSU person. We asked we asked for their zip code, right? So in theory, we can organize everybody by zip code, and we can see what city they're from, for example. Zip code's a great way of getting that, because zip codes are generally fairly homogeneous. So we can assume that this area is a wealthy area or a poor area or a industrial area or whatever. But it's also nice to have this additional descriptor here, which is just, we ask people, what kind of area do they live in? And we thought that might be important to recall, with maybe the rural folks might have a different privacy tolerance, say, than the urban folks. And so that's just a way to potentially look at that. Here are all the countries. I think we had a total of 28 different countries that people responded from. But again, the vast majority, where are we? The vast majority is from the U.S. So 87% of the response were from the U.S. Again, you guys can decide if you wanted to just do all of the whoever the heck, it's all good, or if you wanted to just do the U.S., or if you just wanted to do the stuff outside the U.S., right? That's all available to you. But do know that the vast majority of folks do come from the United States. Here's those zip codes, right? So everybody, if they were from the U.S., if they said they're from the U.S., we asked the zip code question. If they're not from the U.S., we did not ask the zip code question. And what is your occupation? So here's one of these ones that was a total open-ended answer. Everybody that responded here was open-ended. This one, I don't understand what happened with this question. So normally I have people type in the year they were born. I tried using one of these canned questions from Qualtrics. I don't get it. When you look, we have to figure this one out. It's probably one of the first things we should figure out in a second. But when you look at the data that I've input, it doesn't come out as a 4-digit number. It comes out as a 2-digit number. So I first glanced at it, I thought, oh, they're actually telling us their age. But then there's a ton of people that, for example, said they were a student and their year was 77. So that either means they were born in 1977, which means they're pretty old students, or it means they're 77 years old and they're a student. So I'm a little worried that there's something squirrely with this particular question in this canned thing from Qualtrics that I thought it was going to be so much better than what I did, and apparently maybe that's not true. So, okay. Household income, highest level. And again, just to reiterate, what's going to be on the data sheet is 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, not all this text. Highest level of education, do you vote regularly? What languages do you speak at home? English, Spanish. And then for other, there's various things listed. These are all the other things listed. And then how did you hear about this poll? Just so we, for sort of planning purposes for future stuff. And then here's how people heard about the poll. Oh, for some reason it showed up down here. So again, this one only showed up if they said they're affiliated with the CSU. Gender, and this is the last question. This was sort of a question some folks suggested when we were doing our initial trials that we should ask. So that's why it's sort of stuck on at the end here, kind of in a strange place. Cool. Here's our poll stuff. So this is some of the background polls, and we were talking about polls early in the semester that are up there if you guys want to use them for reference. And then here is, again, that PDF if you lose it or you can't find it or whatever. It's right here in that folder. Here's the data in Google Sheets. This is a CVS tab delimited, comma separated file version. So this you can import into whatever you want. You can import it into Plotly, you can import it into SPSS, you can import it in Excel, whatever you like to do. So you can do with that as you see fit. This is that data just imported into Google Sheets, so it's ready for you to look at in Google Sheets if you want to do that. And then this is our shared document. This is what you guys will be working on this week. So everybody should have access to this. If people don't have access to the Google Drive, make sure you talk to me first. So I got us going. I did a really partial start of an abstract, said this. And then we have some sections here. Introduction to our current use of unmanned aerial vehicles, recent history about that, methods. I started typing out the methods to get you guys going. So our survey consisted of 38 questions, blah, 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 blah. So then down here and we'll talk about this now, but I decided, I just, in sort of trying to give us some structure to begin with, thought that we probably want to talk about our results or think about our results in the context of how people interacted with the technology. Did they buy it? Did they fly something? Next is perceptions of this technology as just a technology. This is dangerous, this is scary, right? And then a third category is are we managing this technology appropriately? Is it properly regulated? Is it underregulated? Is it overregulated? All that kind of stuff. And so you guys need to do some analysis in there. Cool, makes sense. So before we the discussion, I just want to say, when you guys start to edit this, the very first thing you guys can do is come in here and start typing in your name, so we can make sure that everybody actually is engaged with this document. Do me a favor, even though you guys might be able to just sort of, in theory, log on, make sure you're actively logged in. Sometimes you can see these documents as a community member. I want to be able to click on one of these and know. So Travis is making that edit. I'm making that edit. Okay, apparently I'm making that edit. But yeah, do log in the formal way through Google, so that when we do edits, I can see who made what and who contributed what.